So it's 10:09 on the 15th, Wednesday, May 24, and we're at this reservoir here. I left at 9:33, so so not too long ago, and yeah, quite a few things to talk about. So I think on the last little thing I posted was like a sub 3-minute video on how I bought a load of shit food, which I never do, because it's all poison, it's all filled with cancerous shit, and it's intended to kill you. But a bit like with alcohol and coffee, we shouldn't drink either, of course, just like many things. But there's a time and a place, and these are drugs that you can utilise. So, for example, I'll give you a little quick example. So, I love fruit a lot, like more than like 99.9% of people, to the point where my teeth were actually eroding at one point, not from lack of cleaning them, just through the acidity. Deriving from fruit consumption, was making my teeth translucent, so you could shine a torch through them. And I noticed, like, if you took breaks from juice, any kind of vitamin C, and then you essentially just maximise that consumption in a really short period, which is for most people they would never do. Like, most people couldn't eat, like, I used to eat 25 to 30 tangerines or mandarins, clementines, satsumas a day, excluding juice. So, like, I'm probably into fruit, and if you did that after a while, you would get a massive buzz, like a drug, like a really crazy like fix that you could then apply to something. So if you wanted to get something done, you could just juice up. Anyway, point is, I wanted to go through the night the other night. Because the place I wanted to book in Stuttgart, for my amazing deal, I didn't do it in time, so it completely sold out. And also because it had been a couple of lazy days, I wanted to make it to Munich for a day on Friday, so Thursday night. And it's because I have a WeWork account, and I get a day in the office basically for free, which would usually be about €50. And I can just do some personal admin, and usually there's an open bar. Though being Germany, even in Munich as the beer capital, it's probably so libtardy that they haven't got the taps like they do in London and Edinburgh. Either way, I've now booked that for Friday, and had I chosen to stay in Stuttgart, it would have meant that I might have arrived a little bit later on Saturday, and they're not open on the weekend, and then I wouldn't have had another chance, because Munich is the last city in Europe. On my trip, essentially. There's no other WeWorks after Munich in the direction that I'm heading. So yeah, all that fitted in quite well, and I bought that crap. I bought the 2 sodas. Can't believe people drink that shit, honestly. Like, they're just crap. Like, what it does to your teeth, it's just, it's unbelievable. And I bought 2 boxes of biscuits, chocolate cookies and chocolate biscuits, and a fucking giant bag of these gummies, man. Oh my god, the ones where you have the sugar like on the top as well as inside, like it's sprinkled. Anyway, so I had that and about 1.5 litres of water, and I pumped all the way through the night, just kept going. I was a little bit worried about arriving obviously late night in a big city, because you do that in Birmingham or London or Paris or so many places in the world, most places in the world. It's not particularly safe, because you can't see the hazards on the street, glass and stuff gets smashed, and Google's taking me the most direct route, so it's not taking me the safest route, it's just the most efficient route, which is usually going through industrial quarters. But given that it's Germany, everything was clean, and thus far, touch wood, I don't believe in that superstition, that was just the bounce. Nothing has happened, and the tyres still look okay. Front could do with a little bit of a pump maybe, but the back is still solid after that little repair job. That lovely €10 job at that very iconic shop. A couple of things I've learned to do, I know already, but just a few things I need to keep track on. I have 3 power banks. One basically doesn't work, the other one is a pile of shit, so I'm running off one. I've got 5 phones. The phone I'm using is the one with my eSIM with unlimited data, but I keep getting in the habit of, getting up, feeling a bit groggy, and just banging this on the front of the bike and using it as a GPS, which is so pointless because it's just going to drain the battery. So now I just hotspot for a few minutes, download Gmaps for the area that I'm in for whatever phone I've applied to the bike, and then I just run it off that. So it doesn't matter if that battery dies, because I've got another 3 phones after that one, plus this. So yeah, good stuff. The setup's still the same, as I said. Sleeping bag, we've got the electronic devices on the front, 4.5 kilos. This fact that this isn't even attached, maybe it's supposed to be like that, hasn't affected it in any way. I ripped this yesterday. Not only did I rip that, but for some reason this keeps going into the spokes, actually, which might damage the spokes, but it's ripped that. Doesn't matter. I've got a full refund for this already. Got a full refund for this. Got a refund for that. Got a refund for that. Got a refund for this. Yeah. There we go. Few things to note, I guess. Things that I've noticed on the trip so far. When you get up, it's always good to, and I've had this tent now for years and I've never done this. The tent is 2 layers, so you have the little hatch that you sleep in, which clips to the outside waterproof coating. The outside waterproof coating, all the condensation builds up, all the moisture from your body at night. So I try, the moment I'm up, to take down my tent, flip that inside out and just leave it sprawled out to try and dry, even though it's not always possible. And before I do that, actually, I bang the sleeping bag inside out to avoid this moisture build up and this mildew on the top of that tent. Obviously, if it's raining, you just can't do that, but if it's not, you should go for it. The most annoying thing with respect to cycling, crosswinds, 100%. You'll arrive on a patch which is just flat, beautiful, not gravelled, but just nice new tar, and you're on the top of a hill hoping for that gorgeous descent, and these winds just stop you. If it's a crosswind, it's dangerous because it gets you into the cars. If it's coming straight at you, my God, it just brings it down to a snail's pace, and it's the most irritating thing. It's worse than rain, snow, bad roads, everything combined. Second worst thing is fly to the eye. Now, fly to the eye has already happened to me this morning, not even going quickly. I see why these, racing enthusiasts have these glasses on, which I actually have and haven't taken them out of the packaging yet, because it just, the flies to the eye, it's fucking irritating how they intentionally go for your eye as well. You see them sometimes if you're going slowly, coming straight at your eye. That's really dangerous. If you're going down a steep descent, you're going 30 kilometers an hour, which you will be, especially with the weight on the back of this, and you get hit with an eye and there's cars around, that's dangerous as hell. I can tell you so many instances where that has nearly taken me off the bike. But yeah, I haven't spoken about the cool thing, so sorry, tangent. Last night, total 200 kilometers. So that is Karlsruhe to Stuttgart. I think I got into Stuttgart at 10 p.m. Didn't even check the GPS, just kept bouncing along, and I felt I was going faster, whether that's because of the sugar rush or because it's dark and you really can't gauge distances as much. Plus, obviously, I had the fresh, tyre and a little bit of servicing on the bike, so I felt really good. And I got into a campsite which I pinpointed as a backup. So it's not the place I ideally wanted to stop, but it was 155 k's from Karlsruhe, and got there like 5 a.m. Obviously, everything is closed. I was so exhausted, I just passed out on a bench. Woke up at like 7. Went to this campsite thinking, fuck it, I'm going to go there and sleep there. And then kind of no one was around, passed out for another like 4 hours on their bench. And I was just like, no, that's enough. Like, we've got the whole day ahead, let's do more. So clicked onto the campsite I was at last night, which was €11.50 plus 50 cents for a shower. Beautiful campsite. And yeah, that came to 190 kilometers, plus I had to cycle before the supermarkets closed to the nearest town, which was 4.7 there, 4.7 back. So it's 200 k's done, and yeah, pretty happy with that. So not only is that 200 k's, first 200 k's, first over 95 k's actually, hadn't even done 100 k in a day. Though this wasn't a day, obviously it's I'm consolidating into one thing. So very pleased with that. And today, Wednesday the 15th, it will be my 1000th kilometre at some point. which was pretty cool, pretty sick. And like I said, I could potentially do Munich today if I wanted to really just kind of smash it. It's only 130 k's and it's 10:20. It is possible, but first thing is, I've been to Munich. I don't really like big cities. I don't think there's a place to leave the bike inside where I'm staying. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe there is, probably there is, but I don't want to risk it because you don't want to leave the bike outside for too long in inner cities. And Munich's just basically filled with Middle Easterners and so-called refugees. Like, it's crazy. So, and it's more expensive to stay there. So it's better to just stay on a campsite halfway, which is Augsburg, which breaks it up nicely. So that's 70k there today. 70k, actually 60k to Munich tomorrow. Booked a place in Munich already using one of my discounts on lastminute.com this time. Never used them before in my life, which is crazy how much I've travelled. So that's the first time. And I paid £11 and I think 8 pence using one of my discounts, of course. Then the next day, at the WeWork all day Friday, so I've got to get loads of admin done, loads of computer complaints. One such complaint being Avanti Rail in the UK, when they fucked off, leaving my bike locked up on the train, on the last train into London, and I almost missed all my transport to Belgium or France because of that. So I want to get a refund on that. A few other things. What I was going to say, hats, so important. I haven't actually been sunburned on the face yet, which is unbelievable. I think first time in my life, given the sun. So the hat is the most important thing. I don't really bother with the cream on the legs anymore, just because it's an extra thing to do. Plus, if you get into a place super late and you're tired, and I had an instance where that really expensive campsite I paid for, the 1851, the shower token didn't work, and I had a really long day and I was covered in sun lotion. I had to get into my sleeping bag with all of that on, because reception was closed and I couldn't get a fresh token for the shower. So I don't do sun lotion and it's poison anyway. So that's the gist thus far. A few little interesting things I wanted to say in previous videos that I hadn't said before. When I crossed from France to Karlsruhe, I obviously had that scenario where just this Japanese guy helped me basically temporarily repair my bike, and it was such an amazing experience, to just meet these people in the middle of nowhere and to be able to then push on to the place I'd booked, that hotel in Karlsruhe. But the first thing that awaited me when I entered Germany, which is insane, so I crossed near Weissenburg, which is on the French side actually, and ended up in a little village. And was it Weissenburg? I lied. It's before I was in Germany. I briefly went over to the supermarket and then came back into France, stayed a night, and then went to Weissenburg. But the first thing I saw when I entered Germany for the first time on this trip, and not the first time at all really, when I was in Munich, when I came back from South America on my flight, Israeli flags everywhere in Munich Plaza, just Israeli flags everywhere. Then when I crossed into this village, the first thing I saw, this is a tiny village, was a fire department, obviously for forest fires, because it's like a dry national park. And they had an Israeli flag outside the fire department. And then second to that was a Christian cross after the Israeli flag, maybe like 20 meters down the road. The Germans are just completely controlled, just like everywhere else in the world, by Israelis, by Jewish people. Or the ideals of Judaism that govern the, let's say, kind of power bases of societal control. It's just amazing to me. And then I had the TV on in my hotel room, and it was, I don't watch the news, I just have it flickering on in the background when I'm up to stuff. I can't remember if I said this in the other vids. And they immediately have a article on a far-right guy, a story on a far-right guy, where it's literally just a complete setup, a camera, filming some big guy, some atypical chavvy far-right guy who's like, got a shaved head and he's wearing a hoodie and he's ripping down a political poster for an opposition party, because it's the elections at the moment in Germany, and it's just that being filmed. And then far right, the threat of the far right. There is no threat of the far right. They don't exist. The far right do not exist. They've never existed. They don't have any power. Okay, it's just ludicrous. It's just this idea of nationalism is evil, and any kind of community standard, any kind of sponsorship of kinship and greater community under the banner of one consolidated king group is just evil. Because of course international communism is international free market capitalism that's sponsored by the very same people I was just discussing. It's just funny because then after that it flicked to an Israeli flag out of nowhere. No context for this whatsoever. It was literally a fake piece on a so-called far-right person ripping down a political poster. Why is that even in the news? And then all of a sudden, like, the camera goes, pans around, and it just stops on an Israeli flag for like a few seconds, and then the next news article comes up. Just ridiculous. So I thought I'd make a little comment on that. And I think we'll wrap it up there. That's pretty much everything I wanted to say. I'll try and make another video later today. Again, trying to maintain the equivalent videos to the days travelled thus far. So yeah, let's hope for the best, and I'll post something else later.